What's up, people? It's your girl Adeola. Please accept my condolences once again to everybody that lost a loved one. May their souls rest in peace. A lot has happened in the last 2 weeks, of course, especially the fact that it's been more than I told you that we are not going to talk about that. My dear, pay attention. As I was saying, Jare, why not you this boy? You know they fear. Anyway, since he put it up, I may as well talk about that. You guys will not believe that few weeks ago, Nigerian president was so upset. The man was upset that the parents of the kidnapped girls refused to honor his invitation for a dialogue, for which he blamed the opposition as well as the Bring Back Our Girls protesters. I said, why would anybody in their right mind ignore a whole president with a PhD?
The Bring Back Our Girls leadership prevailed on the parents and the girls and stopped them from coming. Therefore, what happened was that they actually shunned the meeting with Mr. President.
Snap! Who pissed off Dr. Doyin Okupe? Oh my God! A whole president attack lion. Kai, Nigerians have no respect. Of course, I know that the president waited for a little over 3 months, before reaching out to these parents. And by that time, 11 of those parents had died. 4 of them died of heart attack. And then 7 of them were killed in other Boko Haram attacks in Borno. Yes, but you know what is important to our officials is the fact that they made Mr. President wait without showing up.
They actually shunned the meeting. The president was waiting. The NSA was waiting. Top government officials were waiting to receive them and for private consultation with Mr. President. It is actually some form of hypocrisy that their real concern is to play politics, present the president in a bad way.
I don't fit laugh. Why are you laughing as my doctor, Dr. Doyin Okupe? I love the sense of entitlement that our officials have. It's only about them. Do these people ever wonder how the parents are feeling? Like, seriously? Thank God that the parents later said that they didn't ignore the president too, that they were just trying to make sure that all of them were represented. So 100 days after the girls were kidnapped, 100, that was when the Nigerian president finally met with the parents in Abuja. And for some reason, they sent out all the journalists as soon as the meeting began. Now, what I was trying to say before this one interrupted is that it took a 17-year-old girl from Pakistan. Remember Malala, the one that was shot in the head by Taliban 2 years ago? She was the one that went to Nigeria and met with the parents of the girls, and then she met with Mr. President to tell him the same thing that all of us have been shouting for months. Mr. Man, these parents are hurting. How can you not meet with them? Something like that. You get what I'm saying? And for the first time, what we've been saying finally made sense to the presidency, and they're not ashamed of admitting it.
This meeting was scheduled. It was at the instance of the request that was made by Malala.
You see what I'm saying?
The president fortunately promised me that he will do something for these girls, and he promised me that the girls will be returned as soon as possible.
Not to burst your bubbles, my dear, but Mr. President has this habit of making promises. But the good thing is you are an international figure, and my president likes to make good impression in front of the international world. So thank you, my dear. Thank you so much. Because of you, he met with the parents. And by the way, Malala also promised to donate $200,000 for the education of these missing girls once they are rescued. Now, I'm not saying that the money has anything to do with why Mr. President agreed to meet with the parents, because I know that some of you are too quick to judge my president, and that is not nice. I mean, how much is $200,000? Chicken change. Are you serious? The man is asking for another $1 billion. Hey, yay! My dear, are we sure that there was a time that this man had no shoes, like he claimed? No, because the way he called this big money, that is 165 billion naira. People will start talking, not me, but Nigerians, how they are. They are still asking about that $20 billion. Yes, in fact, people are already saying that this $1 billion that you are asking for, that you want to use it to rig the coming election. I mean, to contest in the coming election. Rigging, God forbid. Mr. Jonathan doesn't rig anything. I've been defending you left and right, but you need to know what people are saying on the street, especially now that we are impeaching opposition governors left and right. They even said that one deputy governor should be impeached because he's raising chicken in the government house. I said Nigeria, too much drama. Can you imagine that some people are now carrying rumors that the president paid people to impeach the opposition governor, Adamawa State governor? Can you imagine? I'm telling you, Nigerians, they are too bold, too bold. But you know, between me and you, my president, you already told us that Boko Haram is not better equipped than our soldiers. Yes, so my Oga, where exactly is this money going to if we are not trying to buy weapons for our soldiers? And do you know that one soldier went and told journalists that they only pay them about 15,000 naira per month? That is about $92 for a whole month. Yawa. Now a lot of these soldiers are saying that somebody in Abuja is sitting on their money. God, life is hard, my people. 15,000 naira. How do you manage? And then go and fight Boko Haram. Some of them are saying that is why they run when Boko Haram is coming. What happened to all the money that all the other countries have been sending to us? You know, like the $20 million that the US gave us. I mean, what is going on? By the way, while I pity our soldiers, and I think that we need to talk about the fact that some of them are above the law. Yes, some of these soldiers terrorize civilians, and it is not good. It's not good though. Why would soldiers set public transportation buses on fire? I heard that one soldier was hit by a bus, and the next thing, his colleagues came and set BRT buses on fire. Buses were exploding in broad daylight in Lagos. And these soldiers got away with it. I said, Haba. What kind of country is that? You have a president that doesn't know what he's doing. Sorry, my Oga, it's not me. That is what people are saying. And then you have soldiers that do whatever they want. That is terrible combination. I'm telling you, very, very terrible. But you know, back to our missing girls. Yes, I heard that Dr. Obiese Wezili, who has been leading the protesters in Abuja, was briefly detained by the SSS at the airport on her way to London for a BBC interview. I said, things are happening. But you know, the good news is the Association of Nigerian Witches and Wizards have now declared war on Boko Haram. Yes, I wanted to say praise God. And then I was like, that will probably not go. But please stop laughing. My people, these witches and wizards, they mean business. They already said that they will capture Abubakar Shekau, the leader of Boko Haram, and that they will parade him on the streets of Nigeria. See me, I don't care who declares war on Boko Haram so long as they get rid of them. But the only thing that upsets me in this story is why they want to wait till December to capture the guy. I said, oh, look at these witches. Why December? Why can't you capture the guy now? You know, Yoruba people will say, which means, help me out, my brother. You know, like if you are sure of your medicine, you take it immediately. Does that make sense? I'm saying that why do we have to wait for another 6 months before you will capture Boko Haram, witches and wizards? Why now? Something is not right. But really, while some of this news are ridiculous, I like to remind us though that for more than 100 days now, more than 200 girls have been in the camp of terrorists, people who have no regard for human life. And we know for sure that they are being raped every day. For a teenage girl to be snatched away for more than 3 months and the government is not bothered, tells you the value we place on human lives. I'm just hoping that this government will actually send troops after the girls. Enough is enough. But you know, I don't know much. Guess what? I'm just keeping it real. My shout out today goes to Stephen Tamba from Liberia and his Indian college roommate Gurush Jamu. Both of these guys are now graduates of the University of North Carolina, but my goodness, these guys are incredible. You know, in their first year of college, they started a foundation together that sponsors the less privileged through primary and secondary school in Liberia. Can you imagine? That is wonderful. And they kept it going throughout college. Now that they are graduates, they still have this foundation running. As you know, the civil war in Liberia did a lot of havoc. About 80% of school buildings were destroyed during the war, and literacy rate has fallen below 32% in Liberia. And the sad thing is that a lot of the kids that make it to secondary school don't go all the way to the university. Now, as a concerned Liberian, Stephen decided to do something about it. But not just him, his roommate, who's actually from India, joined in. And they found out that with $60 that they're able to sponsor a child for a whole year. Just $60. Now take a look at some of the children that they are presently sponsoring. Yes, right now they're sponsoring about 60 kids. These are lives that will forever be changed because somebody cared. Let these guys challenge you today to also give back, because we cannot continue to rely on the government. I don't know how old they were when they started this foundation, but they were freshmen in college. They may be 18, 19, 20, I don't know, but they did something, and today they are changing lives. Make sure you check out their website website, for more information about what they are doing. They also have a Facebook fan page, and if you would like to sponsor a child, please make sure that you donate on the site. Their goal for this year is to sponsor 150 kids. Yeah, so you will be helping them a lot to reach that goal. But once again, kudos to these guys. Thank you so much for what you're doing. And guess what? I'm just keeping it real. Moving on to Ethiopia, it's been more than 30 days now that Andagacho Tsige, the opposition leader, was arrested in Yemen while in transit to Eritrea. Now, it's so unfortunate that the Yemen government handed him over to the Ethiopian government. I heard that the Ethiopian government gave Yemen a tobacco company and some land in exchange for the man. Can you believe that? And then his sister tried to visit him, and the next thing, the Ethiopian government deported her out of her country because she wanted to go and see her brother. That makes me wonder who really is the terrorist here. I can't even imagine what his wife and children have been going through for the past more than 30 days. And of course, people are still telling me that this guy is a terrorist because he's a member of Gimbot 7. I decided to look up Gimbot 7 and I found out it's actually an opposition party, largely diasporan, that the Ethiopian government labeled as a terrorist group in 2011. The same way they named the Ogaden National Liberation Front and then the Oromo Liberation Front as terrorist groups. They labeled all these people as terrorist groups. And then I read about the fact that in 2009, these groups were accused of planting bombs and trying to take over from the ruling party. Many of them were arrested at the time and held for more than a month without charges, while making sure that their family members had no idea of their whereabouts. And then they were charged with conspiracy to destroy government institutions, attempted assassination of government officials, and an attempt to incite rebellion in the army. Ultimately, their properties were confiscated. Some of them received death sentences. About 33 of them received life imprisonment. I read about all these things. Anyway, since then, Gimbot 7, Oromo Liberation, ONLF, they've all been considered as terrorist groups by the Ethiopian government. Meanwhile, some other Ethiopians believe that the bombs were actually planted by the government itself in order to implicate these opposition groups. Now, it's very hard for an outsider to know the whole truth, but one thing that baffles me is the fact that this same government has been classifying a lot of journalists as terrorists when they write stories that the government doesn't like. Now, I have a problem with that. I mean, those are my colleagues, and for somebody to be considered a terrorist for doing something like what I do doesn't really add up. Last week, 9 more journalists were charged with terrorism, and that is after they detained them for like 3 months only to announce that they are terrorists. These are bloggers. Anybody can get on the internet to blog. How do you consider somebody like that a terrorist? Which is why it's really hard to understand the way Ethiopian government defines terrorists. And that is not to mention so many other journalists that have been in prison now for years, some of them with chronic diseases. Forget about journalists. People can no longer protest freely in Ethiopia. Is this true or not? I mean, a few weeks ago, I reported about how some women were protesting during a marathon and then they were arrested. It was a peaceful protest. And then remember those who protested when Saudi Arabia deported thousands of Ethiopians. Those people were stopped by the police in Addis Ababa. They stopped their protest. I talked about that as well. And then not long ago, 30 Oromo students were killed in broad daylight during another peaceful protest. Honestly, this government is actually the one terrorizing its own people. And they are calling those who challenge this government terrorists. A truly democratic government would not be afraid of having opposition parties. In a truly democratic country, people should be able to hold peaceful protests without thinking that they may be killed. In a truly democratic country, somebody should be able to blog without wondering if he or she would be arrested. Seriously, it's so hard to buy the idea that anybody that challenges the government is a terrorist. But by the way, what is the UK doing on this matter? I mean, it meant nothing that Andagacho is a UK citizen. I know that the UK is one of the main funders of the TPLF junta, and many Ethiopians believe that the UK is purposely turning blind eyes to what is going on in Ethiopia. I mean, not just with Andagacho. I know of another guy, Ali Adoros, subjected to electrocution, hooding, and beatings during his 18-month imprisonment in Ethiopia. He's also a UK citizen that Ethiopia considered a terrorist, even though he's lived in the UK since he was a child. You know, if the UK withdraws its support, Ethiopia will release all these people. I think there is more to this issue than meets the eye. I'm really hoping that someday Africa will wake up to realize that some Western powers don't really have our best interest in mind. Because if we unite and develop our countries, we would no longer rely on them or their aid. If Africa becomes strong, then there would be competition, and they don't want that. But how can Africa unite and develop its nations when we have the wrong people in power and we are incapable of kicking them out? And then the Western nations who back those people are not willing to switch sides and back the people, because it's not just Ethiopia. There are so many African countries where we have dictators and Western countries are supporting them. I guess that has been the African story though for generations, But you guys know that I don't know anything. Guess what? I'm just keeping it real. So the national conference in Nigeria is still going on, and I just don't get it. One of their recommendations is that we need to create additional 19 states in Nigeria. Hey! 19 more states in Nigeria. They said Aba will become a state, Ijebu Ode will become a state. And then we will have new Oyo and then the old Oyo. Seriously, how does this solve any of our problems? How does this solve any of our problems? I can't believe that these people are getting 12 million naira each. That is more than $74,000. So hey, yeah. No wonder one of them used a whole newspaper page to celebrate when they selected her as a delegate. Yes, it calls for celebration. $74,000 just to talk about creating more states. When will these people come up with real solution for our problem? How does creating more states stop Boko Haram attacks? How does that fix our bad roads? How does that eradicate poverty or help our education system and stop universities and polytechnics from going on strike? Just recommend that they fix the basic things. The governors that we have right now make billions of naira in security vote. That is apart from their salaries and allowances. Some of you don't even know how much your governor is making. Do you know that in 2011 alone, Imo State set aside 2.5 billion naira as security vote for the governor? Rivers State, 7.5 billion naira. 7.5 billion. Oyo State, 2 billion naira. Kaduna State, 8 billion naira. And then Governor Okorocha once said that he slashed his own security vote from 6.5 billion naira to just 2 billion naira. Do they need all that money? That is my question. Do they need all that money? Some of you are not asking these questions. And then these people are talking about creating more states, which means that more governors will steal more money. They do ceremonial projects that don't last long. And then you think that they are actually doing something. Speaking of which, they've started distributing rice in Osun State as well. The election is coming up on August 9. Both APC and PDP are now giving out bags of rice, just like they did in Ekiti State, because they know that is how you get votes. Maybe that will become the trend now in Nigeria. All the candidates will start sharing rice whenever election is coming. But for them to actually empower their people and create jobs, eradicate poverty, so people can afford good food on their own. No, they're not ready to do that. Instead, they will give you a bag of rice and you are satisfied. Nigerians, wake up! But what do I know? I'm just keeping it real. Before I leave today, I like to read some of your emails. And the first one is from Yenma from England. And she says, hi, I'm 22 years old and I'm studying at the university in England. I have come to the realization that we cannot solely rely on our government. I want to see Africa advance and do great things in my lifetime. I'm going to graduate next year and I plan to open a number of eye clinics in Africa, starting in Ghana, where my parents are from. Go girl, please go after your dream. Anything is possible. It may not work out as you think it would at first, but if you do not give up, eventually you will see your dreams come to pass. Especially if you keep that passion of wanting to help people, the door will open for you to help people. So thank you so much for writing. I really appreciate your email. The next email is from Binet Jobe. Hey, I hope that I pronounced your name correctly. If not, I am so sorry. She's from the Gambia. She says, hi Adeola, I'm just curious, is there nothing Nigerian celebrities can do to help the missing girls? Okay, thank you, my sister. A lot of us have been asking that question as well. They seem to spend a lot of time flaunting their new cars and their weddings in Dubai. I'm not Nigerian, but this baffles me that celebrities are not talking. We are sick of their weddings and luxurious lives being paraded all over Facebook when hundreds of innocent people are dying. They need to know that they are celebrities today because of Nigerians, and if the country is not at peace, their status will also be of no use. Thank you so much, my sister from the Gambia. I really appreciate this email. There are some people that are speaking out. Some celebrities have joined in some protests, and also some people are singing about what is going on with Boko Haram. But to be honest with you, a lot of the celebrities that have huge following. Many of them are not saying anything. It's very sad that the top musicians are not singing about Boko Haram or the missing girls, and it's because they are comfortable. But if it touches one of their family members, that's when they will take it serious. But thank you so much for sending that email. I really appreciate your concern. So before I forget, I like to give a birthday shout out to a wonderful Keeping It Real viewer in Ohio, Toby Olubenga, who just celebrated her birthday, and she shared the picture of the birthday with me. And also happy birthday to Kosi and Adeola all the way from Dubai. I appreciate you guys, and I wish you many more with all that you had desires. Alright guys, that's all the time that I have for emails today. Please keep sending your emails to adeola.keepingitreal@gmail.com. Alright y'all, it's been real, and I'm keeping it real right up in here. Until next week, I'm gonna see y'all later. Peace out.
Welcome to Forstview Luxury Hotel. At Forstview Luxury Hotel, we offer excellent service. Our rooms have all the necessary facilities to make your stay comfortable and memorable. You will also have access to internet service, breakfast, 24-hour power supply, full air condition, free international calls, free tire pumping service, and free car battery charge. So what are you waiting for? Quickly visit Forstview Luxury Hotel. We are located at #1 Adeola Mishile off Raji Rasaki Road, First Estate, Amuwo, Odofin Festac, Lagos. For more information or reservation, please call us on 08075787135 or 08099900601. You can also take advantage of our online ongoing promo at www.forceviewhotel.com to make your reservation and payment for your favorite room, which attracts a discount rate. Please note, rooms are reserved based on first come, first serve. Forstview Luxury Hotel. Experience the home of comfort. They come.